And now we are live. But is it just me? Yeah, so are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Am I doing this on my own? I'm not entirely sure that old running man's going to be back in time for the live. But yeah, if you have tuned in, well, oh, there he is. There he is. No running man.
It was a great run. That was honestly, it was really good. that wasn't set up at all. That it was purely coincidence. We started the live, and then I joined. Yeah, but we're definitely live, aren't we? Hey Kim, hey everyone. If you just joined us, do say hello. Hey Bri, do drop your name in the comments as always, so we can see who's here this afternoon on this wonderful Tuesday. In February. Can't believe it's February. Hey, Miko, great to see you on. George, I'm sure we'll see.
No, it's February, yeah. It's actually 2 days into February.
Jeez, Dave, where you been?
I don't know. I'm still March 2020, I think. I haven't counted time since March 2020.
Oh, no, great. Well, look,
Laura, great. Hello, Laura.
Oh, Laura, wow, you haven't been on live for a while. Sorry, I'm just resetting the camera.
Yeah, both we were at the same time then, actually. I think we both liked it.
I know, I was thinking. Right, yeah, hey everyone, good to see heaps of people on the live as always. Heather, Paula, Andy, Paul, Sital, Laura, Jim, Bob, Ian, Carrie. Obviously, some newbies. Mark, great to see everyone on.
Mark EV's always on here.
He's on. Honestly, I'd love to see his sort of reminders. Okay, EverTrek pops up. Here we go.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't think you've actually missed a live. But yeah, Shona's here. Bri, I know Bri, March 2020. I know you're enjoying it in Kathmandu, but we'll one day, mate, get back there. Anyway, Dave, good to see you. What's today all about, mate?
Well, today we decided that we're getting like one of the biggest questions that we get is sort of, is this good enough? So what we thought we'd do is we do a little bit of a Tuesday tune-in and talk about the levels of equipment that you need to be getting in for any of the sort of, whether it's Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, Three Peaks, Island Peak, Mera Peak, Aconcagua, Mount Everest, the moon, like what level of equipment is actually is good enough, and what equipment you should be avoiding, and also what's perhaps too good, because there's, a classic example is, if you're going to buy a down jacket to go to Everest Base Camp, it doesn't need to cost £800 and have super scientific fill-in in order to keep you like warm enough for the summit of Everest when you only go into base camp. So there are levels to this stuff. And we wanted to kind of offer everyone a little bit of an insight, so when they go off and they buy their down jacket, their sleeping bag, their boots, their pants, their socks, they know exactly what sort of level they want to be kind of pitching at. And of course, we'll talk about that for 3 minutes before we go on to everything else.
No, bang on, Dave, bang on. I mean, we've had heaps of questions come through as always. So cheers for sending those. So we'll tackle those in about 10 minutes time. But yeah, we always start off with talking about a specific subject, and then as always, there's always questions that come in. But anyway, whilst we're on here, do comment if you do have any questions around anything, like Dave said there, anything at all when it comes to equipment. Is it good enough for your trip? Drop it in, and we'll give you our sort of 2 pennies worth on what we think.
Exactly.
But yeah, right, Dave, where should we start then? Is it good enough?
Well, Kim Lawley's asked a question. So is the fleece good enough for the moon then? And I'm not entirely sure, having not been there. However, I have seen Apollo 13, and there was a moment in that movie where they would have loved a fleece. They got really cold.
That's right, they were when they got freezing. Great question to start off. Cheers, Kim. Why not, mate? Why not? If as Dave said, instead of freezing your nuts off and you had a fleece, I'm sure it'd be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to is it good enough, I think one thing Dave, me and you have talked about is whenever you're looking at what sort of gear, sometimes you can go too deep. You can go too into the detail, where most of the time, good is good enough, essentially. I mean, like I said, I'm using the moon as an example, but we're not going to the moon. We're going to Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro or Machu Picchu or Toubkal. Obviously, there's, you don't want to turn up in the shorts and t-shirt, essentially. But, you don't need to go into the deep sort of detail of what it is. If it keeps you warm and it's good enough, then it's good enough.
Yeah.
When I first time I went to base camp, and before EverTrek was an entity what it is now, I got to be honest, I had this old backpack which was a Berghaus backpack, no back supports. I think it was about 20 liters. Excuse me, but it did the job. They were, I think I remember having some, so I'm just thinking back now to some cheap trousers, a couple of fleece that weren't probably the fleeces I'd probably wear now. But you know what? I got through it and it did the job. That being said, we obviously saying about going deep, but it's good to know what is good enough, which is why we're here today. So yeah, Dave, where should we start with regards to, should we start with down jackets, fleeces? Where should we start? Sleeping bags?
I think, two of the big ticket items, and probably the two that I get asked the most questions about, are down jackets and sleeping bags.
Yeah.
Because there's a tendency when we think about those things to think that of the extremes, I definitely want to be warm enough, but also you got to kind of having a little bit of knowledge will greatly inform your decision on what you buy, because if you go into EBC, you're not necessarily going to need something that's going to be suitable for trekking in the Arctic, for instance, and in reality, when you go to EBC, you'll probably only wear your down jacket during the day on about 2, maybe 3 days.
Yeah, not very often, right?
Yeah, of the 11-day trip. The only other time I've worn it, in fact, I've gone on an EBC trip in September now, believe it or not, where I didn't wear my down jacket for the entire time. Wasn't needed. There's a picture of me and the Great Bald Yeti John at base camp, just in a long sleeve t-shirt, So depending on what time of year you go, but generally speaking, in our seasons, it will go below 0 at night. Take that as a given. But you're not going to be out and about in sort of minus 25, So there's no need to. Yeah, exactly. So when I'm usually thinking about, say, a down jacket, if we start there, immediately I think, okay, well, if it's good enough for a UK winter, it's already pretty much good enough for EBC. The only time I would start thinking of, the only thing I think differently about is I won't take a jacket that's designed to be a light jacket, because they do light down jackets and heavy down jackets.
Yeah.
So a light down jacket I would probably not bring, because it might be warm enough, but there's a chance it won't be. Where a heavy down jacket, sort of 700 fill, you already know that it's definitely going to be warm enough. If anything, it's going to be too warm, which is a problem that's easier to deal with than sort of, too cold. So a classic example, I think, is the jacket I use at the moment, which is the Mountain Equipment Light Line.
Yeah.
It sort of strikes a good balance. It's huge. You can't wear it casually. It's mental.
I was going to say, you can't wear it in the spring.
No, you can't wear it in the spring. No, but I've used it on EBC and I've used it to the summit of Kili, and it was everything I needed, and that cost around, I think I paid around £220 for it, so not definitely a mid-range, not like the high range.
Yeah, nice, Dave. I think you're right there. There's obviously different levels of equipment, and essentially, as Dave said, if you're planning for 4 seasons, which we do for all of our trips, and if you stick to that rule, you won't go far wrong. But a lot of the equipment you're already using, especially if you're hiking in winter. I've seen a lot of you over in the Facebook group out in the snow the last couple of weeks. Some of you have EverTrek jackets. Great to see them on, as always. And lots of the gear you've already got, it's going to be fine for the trip. So yeah, don't go. I mean, I say we're not gear snobs. It doesn't have to be expensive to be decent. But there are certain gear, like Dave said there. You've got down jackets, you've got sleeping bags. The core sort of essentials, if you like. But you might not use it for the whole trip. You might go, sort of 2 or 3 days and use it, and then you have it. So you think, geez, I'm gonna spend all that time preparing to get that down jacket. Well, you could have just got an EverTrek one. And that being said, whilst we're on here, and we're talking about jackets, I do want to sort of push out one last time, because we'll be basically getting the next batch created and put together in the next couple of weeks. So if you do want to grab yourself one of the down jackets in support of our Nepalese guides and the team over there, which is that's a fantastic response in terms of the money that's gone over. I don't know if you saw some pictures on social, put it on email, and it was really thanks a million if you bought one of those jackets. But yeah, if Lauren is on the comments, if you can drop that link in, anyone wants to grab one of those, do grab a jacket. It's £100, and they're lovely and shiny, and they're lovely and warm, and yeah, they're. Whilst we're talking about jackets, they're not like the high-end technical jackets, but they're good enough for your Everest Base Camp trip, Kilimanjaro summit, for Machu Picchu or Toubkal. Obviously, there's jackets that are far more technical capabilities because of the nature of what we're doing these for. They're from Nepal. We try to ethically source them, but they're not as say, I've got like Dave mentioned there, the Lightline jacket you wear. That's, I would say, more technical jacket if you want to spend that money. But if you want them for £100 and obviously support our guys, the link is on there. Lauren is on it as always.
Awesome. I mean, one of the other things that I always say when it comes down to equipment as well is, although I'll be honest, I am a bit of a gear snob, but I try not to be. I like to get like the new thing and try it out and stuff like that. But actually, based on a lot of the treks that I've done and a lot of the people that I've trekked with, you don't need to spend like a lot of money on, say, I've seen people in like £50 base layers and stuff like that, Now, whilst I'm sure they're incredibly good, they're probably not going to be used to their full potential on like an EBC or a Kilimanjaro trip. So you don't need to spend a huge amount. And I find that your comfort level, like, it never really comes down to like one item, So the sleeping bag, is it warm enough or isn't it? It never really, for me, never comes down to like, I'm not sleeping, just in my sleeping bag. I've got some clothes on. I've got other items as well that I can layer, which brings us on to layering, which is probably really important. And I think the first time I went to EBC, I got most of my base layers from Aldi, and
some of the guys the same. I think it was Bry mentioning you got some stuff from Aldi. I mean, they do the job, right?
Yeah. They don't last as long, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I found that some of the sweat wicking, so I run quite hot, right? So in the hot weather, so, on your way up to Namche on a hot day, then I'll need like a really light base layer that's really good at like wicking. But the ones that I bought from Aldi were perfectly good. I'll be honest with you, they didn't last as long. I don't still own them, where I own base layers, for years. But certainly like your fleece and stuff like that. So like I've never really spent like huge money on a fleece or anything. Like, this is a Converse one, and I've seen people trekking in Converse fleeces, on the mountain and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people get like there's like Regatta, Peter Storm, those types of things. And a friend of mine who actually we went with in October got 3 fleeces for a tenner, like from Go Outdoors, wore them to base camp, and it was quite a cold one last October, and he was perfectly happy with it. So that you don't, what I'm trying to get across is you don't have to spend like a huge amount of money on every little piece of kit that you have. I would rather dedicate large sums of money to some key items, perhaps maybe like a waterproof jacket. A waterproof jacket is something that I encourage anyone to spend as much money as they possibly can on, because there does tend to be a correlation between the more you spend, the better they perform.
Yeah, certainly when it comes to waterproofs, isn't it? I think it was Marky Boy, Mark Van Rossum, asked about waterproof jackets. Any recommendations? Yeah, there's a few, I would say, classics. Berghaus seem to do great jackets. You've got Berghaus Extreme range. Now they're not cheap. You're talking £300 plus. I've got the Extreme 8000, which I bought probably about 3 years ago. It's lasted since. That being said, I've got the Rab. Is it the Rab Firewall, Dave? We both have, and all the EverTrek team have, and that does the job. During when it's wet in Wales, and if it does the job here in Wales when it rains a lot, it'll be fine when you're out on Kili, Machu Picchu, even in Everest Base Camp. Sometimes it can rain on the lower down on the first couple of days.
Exactly.
So there's heaps of options. I think the the Lhotse jacket is probably, I'd say, one of the
Berghaus Lhotse. Yeah, it's a good jacket.
No, I think it's called a Mountain Equipment.
Oh, it's I've seen it. Yeah, I think John was going to buy that one. He had a mountain equipment jacket. It might be the Lhotse, but yeah, I've also got like the Montane. So anything that's Gore-Tex Pro is generally going to cost a little bit extra money, but going to be more, not only more waterproof but more breathable, which is for me like crucially important. I have to have a jacket that has got vents and breathability and sweat wicking, just because quite often when it's raining, it counterintuitively it's not cold. For instance, on Kilimanjaro, it rains sort of most evenings because it's in its own little bubble of microclimate. And when it does rain, though, it's generally not cold. It's still quite warm, especially in the lower altitudes. So yeah, that was really good. I think, you can go mad with it. I've seen some Arc'teryx jackets which are like £600.
They're
Which
pricey. They're pricey, aren't
I would love to buy, but I can't. I'm not there yet. I can't bring myself to spend that much money on a jacket when the other jackets like the Firewall, which is around £200, works brilliantly. That's really, really good. And I think one of the other things as well is like waterproof trousers as well. Generally, any outer layer needs to be more durable. So spending your money on it tends to be like well invested, I think. With base layers and stuff, depending on, your personal circumstances and, how you feel, like whether you want hot or cold, you can kind of generally get good is good enough,
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. I'm just going through some of the questions, Dave. I know we've had some come in on the email. So I'm going to tackle a couple of those. We had off Lisa. Is a Rab Cirrus jacket good enough for Kili? Now, someone's asked that a few weeks back, actually. I think it was before Christmas. Someone mentioned about the Rab Cirrus, and I did a little bit of a research. I think it's what we call, I would say, a kind of mid-range down jacket. So
yeah,
you're like similar to a Rab Microlight Alpine jacket. So it will keep you warm, but you've got to have a layer underneath because it's not too thick. I think I remember, Dave, we trekked with Tom, a good friend of ours, to Everest Base Camp in April 2019, and he had the Microlight Alpine jacket. It did the job, but he did say afterwards that he would have preferred something a bit warmer. And I think the Cirrus is of the same type of jacket. So to be honest, on Kili, you could probably get away with it. You might have to wear maybe an extra layer. Either, some people do this. They put their waterproof over the down jacket just to get that extra layer, as well as a fleece, as well as a base layer. It does get cold on Kili, especially on summit night. In the dark, in the wind, you're in there for several hours. So having a decent down jacket makes a difference. But yeah, you could probably get away with it, I would say, Lisa. But maybe get something a little bit thicker if you've got the budget, if you've got the option, and if you've got the inclination to. But you could get away with a Rab Cirrus, like I said.
I would probably be quite like Andy said. I mean, I think, if you go into the summit of Kilimanjaro, when we went in February, it was really cold. So I think maybe, like Andy said, if that's the jacket for you, and make sure you prepare to sort of layer up with it, just to add that extra insulation. Sometimes just having like I've got a down jacket, sort of gilet, or I used to call them body warmers as a kid. And that makes a big difference, having that like even under a rain jacket, if it is really cold, makes a big difference and keeps your core, nice and warm. So yeah, that's really, really good.
Nice. What's the next one, Dave?
So Danny Mitchell.
Yeah.
So Danny's booked onto Kili in 2022. I've heard that you can hire sleeping bags from yourselves. That would mean you don't have to carry your own sleeping bag. That's correct. Well, actually, you don't have. Well, I mean, you only have to carry it to Tanzania. Then we have like a team of porters and things like that carry the main bulk of your stuff. Is a Mountain Hardway Lambada -15 bag. How good are the sleeping bags that you provide? So basically, I think that the sleeping bags that we provide are designed to keep you warm at the top of Kili. So they are at that sort of level, sort of -10, -15 comfort level. So, if you do borrow one of our bags, you're not going to be, needing anything more. The only thing I do say is obviously they're in good working condition, but they're not brand new. So we keep them as clean as we possibly can. But if you do want to add like an extra layer, maybe you can get like a liner to go inside the bag. That way, technically, you're inside something that's brand new, and it also will add that extra bit of warmth as well.
Nice. Is that from Danny? Is it? I'll tell you about this after the live. But let's have a little look. What else we got? I think you're reading last week's questions, Dave. But it's always good to sort of answer them twice.
Am I reading last week's questions?
I was thinking then, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, do you know what? I've got the questions here, but it was like, Danny, that question was so good, I thought I'd answer it twice.
Well done, mate. I like that. Well done. Right. Actually, I got to scroll to the right one.
Okay, I'm with it. Okay, fire away. And Ramona's asked a question.
Yes, Ramona, of course she has. Actually, Abby is next on the list. I'll read it out. I have a pair of thermal socks, which are so thick, I only wear them as slippers around the house. Never climbed in sub-zero temperatures. Is it better to climb with as much padding around the toes as you can fit, or standard merino hiking socks enough? Have you been mad enough to put foil in your shoes? I haven't done that actually, but you know what? I'll try everything. I'll give everything a try once. But yeah, when it comes to that foil, yeah, when it comes to socks, good question in terms of what's good enough for socks. Again, if they are, I mean, merino wool, firstly, are great. I mean, I've got loads of merino wool. I know they're popular. I mean, a lot of people in the group here will be using merino wool socks when you're trekking or hiking, especially in cold conditions. So if you got the budget and get some, because they can be quite pricey, even sometimes 20 quid just for one pair. Whereas you can get, some people do this, they kind of wear two pairs of socks at the same time, so two layers, so it kind of rubs together on the sock instead of rubbing against the base of the boot. And that does also keep it a little bit warm. But you don't want to get too warm, because if you get sweaty, that's not good on long distance walking, because that's where blisters form and hot spots.
Yeah.
So do watch that. But look, if you've never climbed in or trekked in sub-zero temperatures, maybe give it a try. I mean, you probably get away with it. Maybe something off the top of my head now. If you were, while you're trekking, try it. Try one day with one pair, maybe carry one in your backpack. If it's not warm enough, chuck the other pair on, and then see how you get on. I think sometimes it's you've got to find your own way with that. I think for us, I'd be sticking to one pair of really good merino wool socks. I think that's good enough on the kind of trips we do. If you're maybe climbing Aconcagua or climbing Toubkal in winter, you want to get some thicker socks that will, because you're going to be wearing crampons in the snow.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite cold, so you want decent socks for that.
Yeah. I only wear the merino wool now.
Yeah, you'll shout about merino wool all the time, don't you?
Yeah, only because it changed everything. One question we did have, which actually came in on the comments, was
okay.
I gotta try and find out who asked it now, but it was a question about trousers. So what trousers would we recommend? I can't find the person who asked it, so maybe Andy, if you can have it. But there's a lot of love here for the Crag Hopper Kiwi. I think they're great trousers. I
think it was Carrie.
Yeah, probably Carrie. Yeah, it was Carrie. So yeah, I think so mainly I think I got Montaignes because they're quite lightweight. But what I like is anything that says stretch in it. So when you're moving around and climbing or doing stuff like that, they're really comfortable and they don't get tight around the leg or back of the knee. So I think the Crag Hoppers Kiwi Pro Stretch are really good. Montaigne Terra Stretch are really good. I've got a couple of pair of Rab trousers, although they're pretty expensive. One pair that I'm thinking about getting, and I'm thinking of getting some more kit, is by a company called Paramo. Paramo are really good. They're like a soft shell sort of material as opposed to that Gore-Tex shell. So one thing they're quieter. So when you've got your hood up, it's not like rustling in your ear. But also the waterproof. I'm hearing like amazing things about it. And also trousers, which are apparently like waterproof, but they're not over trousers. You just put them on and wear them all day, every day, and they're fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out Montaigne, Rab, Kiwi, Crag Hoppers Kiwi, and then also Paramo. But I think you will pay a little bit more for Paramo, but it's money well spent, I believe. My dad's a big fan.
Yeah, he is. I'll go through, like you mentioned earlier about Ramona, or Mona. Great to see you on the live, mate, whilst writing, I've forgotten what you used to doing now, but I think you're writing a report, aren't you, as you're listening?
Old houses, mate. Old houses.
Old houses, yeah.
Old houses, yeah.
You mentioned you bought some bamboo socks. You're asking about sort of waterproofness. They are in the drawer, but any ideas around bamboo socks? Are they really waterproof? I think, I've heard good things about them. I think in terms of abrasion, so in terms of rubbing against another material, your skin against the boot, I think they're really good. I've not used them myself, just from what I've seen, what I've read, that they're really comfortable to wear. Very similar. There's like those bamboo sort of underwear you can get now that's really good for sort of chafing. There's anti-chafing, which is great, and I'm really happy with that because I suffer with chafing. But yeah, with the socks, I mean, from a waterproof perspective, depends on the boot. If your foot's going to get wet, and it's going to get wet. It's especially on a multi-day trip if it's raining a lot. It's all about the boot, I would say, rather than the sock. I'd focus on getting a decent pair of waterproof or decent boots that kind of are good from a waterproof perspective, rather than those type of socks, because I think they might rub a little bit. But yeah, when it comes to bamboo socks, Mona, I think you won't go far wrong.
Yeah, awesome. So Joel, Geordie Yeti.
Hey,
I'm not
Joel.
gonna do. I'm not gonna do the accent anymore. I can't do it any good justice. But obviously temps can change on the trip. But what is a typical day wear? So base layer, fleece, possibly shorts if the weather's good. If it's cold, he's a snowboarder and only goes to the Alps, etc. So winter is when it's freezing.
Yep.
Sunny. Okay, so basically, if you look, you're booked on EBC. So to be honest, a typical day is probably just like boots, trekking trousers, and a base layer, either a t-shirt or long sleeve base layer. I tend to only wear long sleeve and then just roll the sleeves up because sometimes if the sun's beating down on you, I want to keep covered up. And it's probably that way up until around Namche, maybe even Tengboche. It can be quite warm during the day. So I've got sunburned on my way up to Namche because I didn't look after the back of my neck. And then from about Tengboche onwards, so Tengboche to Dingboche, Lobuche, and EBC, I'm probably thinking more along the lines of wearing a base layer with like either my Gore-Tex jacket as a wind stopper, or like a fleece or something like that, or like a mid layer. So I've got this Rab mid layer fleece, the I can't remember the name of it, AL pull on, I think it's called, the hooded one.
Yeah.
So they tend to be, I mean, that's it. So day to day, you can travel pretty light. Only from about Lobuche onwards might you be thinking about putting your down jacket in your bag. But every day, no matter where I am, I always have in my bag a pair of waterproof throw-on trousers that are rolled up, a waterproof Gore-Tex jacket, because both of those things are squeezed small and they're light, sunscreen, hat, gloves, neck buff, water, snacks, that type of thing, all in my rucksack. So at any one time, you know, and also maybe like a lightweight fleece or something just to throw on when you stop for lunch and things like that. But actually day to day, so the first half of the trip, lower altitude, you're going to be dressing light, certainly shorts if you want, you know, it's up to you. The one thing I do say is that, and I know you haven't directly asked this question, but footwear, no matter from day one to day end, I always wear my boots when I'm walking. Largely because they offer that a bit of extra ankle support. You will see people in like trail shoes and stuff like that, but personally I'm not going to risk going over on my ankle. Like when you go up the mountain over here, I'm the same. I just wear my boots and that's it. And then when I finish the day, whack on some sliders or something and relax. But always boots.
Nice, Dave. Going through the questions. Diane, great to see you on here again, Diane. I'll bring your question in because you mentioned about for Kili, you've got a vegan sleeping bag, -10, extreme of -30. I'd say, the extreme I never really listened to just because that's pushing it when it comes to these kind of bags. But -10, if that's comfort, that's pretty good actually. And what's keep warm? 100%. Like with the one I've used on Kili, which is the Rab, I said 700 sleeping bag, a good sleeping bag, and I'd say it's around the same comfort temperature, -10. Be very surprised if it goes below that because you're not going to be sleeping other than a sort of Kili base camp, if you like. You're not, you're going to be sleeping at the top. So it's, once you're up there in the cold conditions, you're going to be fine, in the other camps. Yeah. So with regards to that, I'd say -10 is great. If you are cold, and it can happen, chuck your clothing on. We've done that before. Sometimes we've slept in our down jackets just because, it's just an extra bit of comfort. Especially say in Gorakshep on the Everest Base Camp trek where it can be really cold in the nights, and especially if it's windy, it doesn't matter what you wear, you can feel the wind in your kidneys. It gets that deep. So 100%, with regards to wearing what you need to keep warm. Sometimes people can just wear pants and sleep in a sleeping bag. As you get higher, you'll feel yourself put a t-shirt on, trousers on, and by the end, maybe you'll get the down jacket on, but. All part of the journey, Diane. But I hope that's a question.
Weirdly, my mother has raised a comment saying
Carpenter on there.
Yeah, Paramo Extras and Paramo Seconds are both on eBay, so you can buy sort of like maybe there's a stitch missing or a mark on it or something. Oh. I suspect that's been fed to her from the old man. I'm not even 100% sure. I think my mum has wrote Paramo, but I can't imagine she had any idea what that was.
Oh, it's all good. Right, let's have a look. Just going through them. Mark, Dave asked an interesting question. Dave Rimington. Hey, Dave. Nice to see you on the live. Do you do posters of the Everest Base Camp route? Yes. Interesting question. We don't actually. I mean, as always, we're trying to, introduce all new things if they're great. And when it comes to the route, I could certainly see a bit of value in that, Dave. What do you think? I mean, about getting some posters together. I mean,
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. I
you
mean,
can get them in Nepal, but
yeah, I think it's the image of the route is pretty much like a classic one, but we could get some posters made. I mean, I'll be honest, we're kind of backed up with all the stuff that we have to get made. Like we have so much stuff that we've got to do. But yeah, I definitely think it's an idea. I'd like a poster. I'll put it on the wall. One thing I should do, actually, while I remember my wall, is mention that Leah actually sent us a little care package. And one of the things that she sent us is now living on the wall. You will see this is difficult. The koala.
So you're there, mate.
So it's now joined the wall with Betty the Yeti and a little. I think that's a sloth with a pineapple on his head. I haven't named him yet.
But yeah, a random thing that you've got.
Yeah, any name? Well, that was a gift off Fee, the Bimblin Yeti. But I think any name suggestions for the koala and the pineapple-headed sloth, then please, chip them in. Email us.
Throw them into the comments.
Yeah, throw them into the comments, and we'll have a gander. Let's have a quick look now. So we have some more questions here. Yep. So Marky V has said, how about waterproof jackets? Any recommendations? I think we've kind of covered it off, but I think
that one,
yeah, anything Gore-Tex Pro is going to be really good. Paramo as well. Check those guys out because they're also really, really good.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So Ken O'Leary, once it's safe to do, I want to pop down for you guys to have a checklist of my gear if possible. Bring your gear down and let me go through it. That is that's a great afternoon for me. That's like an afternoon off. So yeah, as soon as it's safe to, yeah, more than welcome. Come down to EverTrek HQ and I'll get you a coffee and then you can kind of busy yourself while I just kind of tear through the bag and have a look. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. No, we're always good. I mean, at the moment, when, as always, not allowed anyone, but yeah, essentially, when it opens up, yeah, more than welcome. If you live local, come down. EverTrek Towers, love to have you with us. If not, and you can't, and this goes out to anyone. If you're coming on one of our training weekends when we are allowed to run them, we can't wait to do that. We do a whole sort of section around equipment. So we always say bring your equipment, and we'll all go through it together. So yeah, if you can't get to the office, because obviously I appreciate we got customers all over the UK, some customers in the States, Australia, all over the world. It's a bit hard to come to the office all the time, but if you do want to join one of our training weekends, if you're in the UK. Bring your gear and we can obviously go through your gear with you. But yeah, great stuff. Just going through, Dave Town asked, mentions about Campbell Irvine. Is Island Peak classed as a trekking peak? Yes, it is. So with Island Peak and Mera Peak, they're classed as trekking peaks in Nepal. Even though, there's always a split opinion really on whether they should be called trekking peaks because there's a little bit of climbing involved. You can't get away from that. You're on crampons, you're on fixed ropes, and there is a section on Island Peak. It's about 100 meters. That I forgot the degree of slope, but it's essentially climbing. With crampons and ice axe to support you. So yeah, it is. But as far as insurance is concerned, trekking peak. So if they ask you for a specific height, I think it's 6186 meters is Island Peak. So. Yeah, do mention that, and I hope that answers your question, Dave.
Just want to dive in, mate. That we've got some. I think Leah's gone full Australian on us.
Okay.
But because all right, Kev, you do it better than me. But also, yeah, we've got some awesome names here. So Gula, meaning no water, which is the First Nation language for koala. Cornelius the sloth is definitely a high contender. Kevin the koala, sloth plus koala equals Pina Koala. Pina Koala is pretty epic.
I love that.
Yeah. So these are brilliant. These are brilliant.
Kevo's got to be good. Kevo is always a good one because so many Kevos in Australia, right?
Yeah. I think Leah's gone full Australian on us. I think she's been holding back on it up until now. Joel Palmer, any suggestions for waterproof trousers that flex and breathe? Straight off the top of my head, I'm thinking Paramo, because they do make technical waterproof trousers. They're not technically over trousers, so you don't pull them on over what you're already wearing. They are themselves waterproof. But the nature of their stuff is that it's soft shell, flexible, and if you want a pair of sort of over trousers that are flexible, generally I've just gone by getting them like quite big, you know. So I bought some like XL Berghaus over trousers, and generally they're quite baggy. So even moving around and stuff like that, they don't cause much restriction, unless it's the ones that I borrowed, because I actually went to Kilimanjaro and forgot my waterproof trousers. Had to borrow.
You had some lovely tight ones, didn't you, Dave?
Had to borrow some from my guide. Now, I am not as fit as an African mountain guide. Yeah. I am not as thin as an African mountain guide. So putting these trousers on was intense. And like, you know, like I couldn't sneeze. If I dropped something on the floor, I had to kind of ask someone to get it for me. I couldn't do any extreme movements for risk of busting his trousers. But yeah,
well, they kept you dry, Dave. That's the important thing.
I mean, I was dry. My voice, you know, went up a couple of pitches.
You know. Brilliant. Right, just going through the questions. Deirdre mentions one that I think we might have covered last week, but you know, we'll answer it again. Hey, nice to see you on the live, Deirdre. Do you have to get a vaccine for yellow fever? Is it most to get all? Yeah, I presume just asking around the yellow fever. So with yellow fever, if you go into Tanzania, for instance, you only have to get it if you're coming from an area that has yellow fever. So generally, if you're coming from the UK, you don't need it, unless there are some countries, if you're landing, that will require you to have it. And you've got to have like a little, what they call like a vaccination passport, which maybe, just going back to COVID, that we might all have to have in the future. We'll obviously keep you informed if we hear anything on that. But when it comes to yellow fever, yes, you would. Sometimes as well, they do ask for, like for instance, when you come into the border in Tanzania, almost for one, Dave, what is it? Is it something that you come from a yellow fever exempt country? Is that right?
Exactly. So, yeah. If you go to the travel clinic, so when I was last there, I asked them about yellow fever, and they said, obviously, like Andy, if you're traveling via a country that doesn't have it, you're exempt, but you may get stopped at the border. So the customs people might ask for it, and if they're not as informed, they might sort of, you know, ask you for proof. You can get a certificate just to say that you're exempt from needing one because you've come from a country and via a country that doesn't have yellow fever. So yeah, just in case you get, you know, trapped in bureaucracy at the border control. I just saw a the next question in the list is from John, who said, have you tried the 1,000-mile socks? I nearly bought them as they're cheap, but in the end I had a 20 pair of Berghaus Merinos. John, I am not going to talk to you about socks again. Like, like literally, I've had this with John, the argument, like Berghaus or his brashes. He used to go on about these brashes that he had. And I think I borrowed a pair of brushes from him. It was like they were made of like glass and sandpaper. But
John is a great baldy Yeti. He's friends with Dave, which is why. Just in case you're wondering how Dave knows John so well. But John also is one of our guides on our training weekends. So if you do come on our training weekends, you might even get to meet him. He's an awesome bloke and has done Everspace Camp twice now with us.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like if you get lost on the mountain, and you can just look for the shine of John's head, the great baldy Yeti himself.
Jeez. Here we go. Right, let's have a look. What do the Jerome? Nice to see Jerome. Nice to see you on, mate. I know you missed a couple of the lives, haven't you? But good to see you back on. What do the Yetis recommend for ankle socks or calf length? You know what? I prefer the calf ones. I like them a bit longer. Stops the rubbing on the ankles sometimes if you've got a certain type of boot. If you like, you know, nice little strong connection on the boot there. But again, you know, it comes down to personal preference, Jerome. I mean, you know, I'd sort of ask what you're using now when you go walking. What did you use when in Kili? You know, because sometimes you can sort of overthink it a little bit. And I think if whatever you're using now, if it's working, stick to that, mate. But personally, calf length. I don't know about you, Dave. What you would go with?
As long as they're higher than my boot, you know, that's all I tend to worry about. I might not go calf length because it drives me mad. Like I'm like my mid calf, but as long as they're higher than my boot, you know, so I want my ankle and everything like up to my boot to be sort of protected just against any potential rubbing issues. You know, having the sock there helps. Actually, the what's our boot, Sand? Why has it gone from my mind?
I can't believe you've forgotten about the Maindel
Bhutans. They've got like a memory foam upper around the top. So actually they don't rub at all, but I still would like something to go over there. Sean Ratcliffe, nice little dig there, mate. One for Dave, as he likes answering old questions. Huh. Okay. Right, you know, I've even had a message from Lauren, like reminding me where to start from, you know.
That's all right.
So he can't remember if he's asked this question a few weeks ago. To be honest, I can't remember if I answered it a minute ago. So, but for a mid-layer fleece, you bought a new RAB capacitor fleece. It's described as a modern take on the 200 weight fleece, but it feels quite thin. Do you think it will be good enough for EBC at the end of September? Capacitator.
It just brings you back to the Future. That's where modern take.
They do have something called the Flux as well.
There we go. Maybe, you know, there's a bit of a link there, clearly.
Yeah, that's what they've done, yeah. Actually, I think I might own one, or my AL might be equivalent to it. To be honest, I think it's a really good mid-layer. I've personally found it to be, it's not the warmest, you know, so it's not like a thick fleece, but that's perfect for me because like a base layer, that fleece with the hooded area and then like an outer layer is usually, you know, it's got to be pretty extremely cold for that not to be enough for me personally. So I think that's a really good fleece, and if it is the equivalent to a 200 weight, then it should be really warm. But as always, you know, don't just rely on like one thing. Make sure that, you know, your base layers, you know, going to be either, if it's a cold day, you've got a warmer base layer on, and you've got some extra outer layer as well, like for added warmth and protection. So but otherwise, I think there's a really good fleece.
Nice. Sean, again, I thought, great having loads of questions today. Awesome, mate. Bring it on. You're talking about trousers going for the Montane Terra missions, which I guess should be fine. Yeah, I've got a pair of them. Brilliant. I've worn them, you know, wet weather, warm weather. Kumbu cough, Dave?
Let's hope so.
Jesus. The Montane Terra are good. You won't go far wrong from them, Sean. So I hope that answers your question, mate. What have we got, Dave? What other ones we got, mate? I know we're going.
Let's have a look. So more words of koala. So we've got quite a lot of koalas. Another interesting one: trekking poles. Carrie Swepson has asked trekking poles. Are they needed? What kind of budget would I be looking for? I would say yes, they are needed. I've become more and more of a convert of them. I always definitely have at least one with me on very steep sections, like the Elephant's Back, when you're going up Kilimanjaro, or maybe up Kalapatar. Having two of them to be able to like bear down and carry some of your weight is really helpful. I also think going downhill, particularly if you've got a knee like mine, they really do help because you can extend them longer and put them out in front of you, and it just lessens the impact. With regards to budget, to be honest with you, I normally spend, I've got really expensive ones. So I've got these carbon poles because I wanted them to last a long time, because it doesn't make sense for me to buy cheap and buy often. So I bought expensive and I bought once. And they're collapsible and they don't weigh anything. However, if you only need them for like one thing, you don't need to spend like £90 on a set of poles, you know. I would be looking between sort of £20 and £50 maybe for a set that'll be more than good. I bought some, and when we did the Glencoe challenge, and I paid about £8.50 for these poles. And by the end of the 26-mile route, one of them was S-shaped.
So I think it's because you were leaning on them so much with your feet were hurting you, Dave.
Yeah, valid point. Yeah, there's more. To be honest, it's not only the poor. But yeah, I would say looking between sort of £20 and £50 for a bargain. However, if you don't want to do that, you can pick them up for around £10 in Kathmandu, use them for the trip, and then, you know, either gift them or take them home with you. Is entirely up to you. But yeah, but I am really happy with mine. So I've got some Lecky collapsible carbon poles that I'm super happy with.
It's quite funny actually. With John literally said the same thing on his comment just below.
Oh, did he?
He's about you. So you had a pair of £90 carbon ones, and then he actually had 1,000 rupees, which is about £8, £8, and he bought one in Kathmandu, and they lasted well. And he was happy with them. But yeah,
they did last well, because with John, 99% of the time they stayed strapped to his rucksack. So they're not gonna damage, you know, and get damaged. stuff like that. So yeah.
Nice. Right, just going down. Let's have a little look. Jerome got another one. Do EverTrekkers get a wake-up call every morning in the tea houses? Yeah, you know what? It depends on the guide, because some guides are really, sort of old school. Where some you'll say, right, okay, we're meeting at 7:30, guys, and they kind of leave it to you. So we're all adults. Get up early, get up on time, set the alarm. But some guides will, morning, guys. They will knock on the door and give you a kick out of bed, especially if it's one like if you've got a Kalapatar at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Instead of banging the door because everyone's asleep, they'll give you a quick nudge and say, hey, just to see if you're ready to go. So yeah, some do, so some don't. You can ask to have one if you prefer. I know some guides have said, let us know, and you tell them, oh yeah, could you give me a nudge at this time, and they'll come in. And, honestly, they'd love that, just to kick you out of bed.
Yeah. To be honest, or you can just room with Andy, and he's like 5 o'clock. Come on, Dave, let's go! Like and then that's
something like that.
or he'll come in at like 12 o'clock at night, and you're ready to go to sleep. You'll be like, Dave, have you seen the stars? Next thing you know, he's getting his camera equipment and stuff like that. So yeah, Andy's like a dynamo. Also, I think Joel Palmer has said, and Lauren's put this through, are Dave's new glasses based on a Hollywood movie star? Lauren has actually put an accompanying picture with this, and it is really tragic, because it's almost one of those, have you seen it, like how it started, how it's going sort of comparisons? Like, this movie star is how it started, and I am definitely the how it's going version. Well, thank you very much for the movie star comments. They're not based on any movie star. They're based on deteriorating eyesight. And I have quite a big head, so these are like the only ones I could find that really fit.
Looking good, mate. Looking good.
Yeah. They make me. I honestly, I think my IQ went up about 3 points as soon as I put them on.
I didn't want to be the one to say it, but yeah. You do look more intelligent, Dave. But
yeah. Also, I think we've got an answer. I would like to introduce you to Kumbu Koala, or we'll call him Kumbu.
Oh, nice, Kumbu. I see what you did there. I like. Who came up with that?
I just lots of votes for Kumbu.
Mark Torlin came up with. It's a good name, strong name that is.
Yeah.
One of our favorite regions, obviously. So yeah, I love that. Absolutely awesome. Someone's asked, is that Andrew? Off topic, Andy, get a little snow on those peaks behind you. Yeah, well, normally there is. I will actually grab.
Here it goes.
So,
a bit of the snow.
This snow does go on there. Wrong way. But there we go. I can hold it up for you, Andrew. It actually came off earlier. I need to put that back on. But yeah, a little bit of audio paneling, which is actually, this is all made out of plastic. I don't know if I mentioned before, but there's a company in New Zealand that basically all those, you can picture those islands of plastic in the ocean, and they go out and they collect it all, and they recycle it into sustainable products. And one of them is audio panels.
Yeah.
Which is what these are. So yeah, they help us with regards to the audio paneling in the Yeti cave here. So yeah, clearly bit fall off. Classic, isn't it? It fell off just for the live.
Yeah.
But I'll get it back on so there's snow on the mountains.
So just Stephen Edwards, just clarifying. So that's a level 5 IQ now. So I think that's an optimistic, I would say. But, I'll take it. John as well, saying that rather than a film star, I look like Bricktop. So I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Snatch.
Wow.
So probably more closer to Bricktop than the picture. Lauren has included. I don't know who that actor is. Initially, I thought it was the guy from The Office. But I don't think
he's off. No, he's Captain America off the Avengers. Come on.
I haven't seen the Avengers.
Get out.
I've only seen the first Iron Man.
No, it's one of my Chris Evans. So yeah, of course, Lauren would know. Come on, all we need to do is ask Lauren. And she would know, and Avalanche. Exactly, that's what happened. Right, going through some questions. We got a couple more. I know we've been going 50 minutes already. Here we go. So just going to Andy Gallagher, Salawa Men's Mountain Trainer Light Mid GTX. Wow. I've never used Salawa. I've heard good reviews on them. But Mountain Trainer Light. I'd like to see them and do a bit of a review. I wouldn't like to say yes, they'd be okay. If they're GTX, it usually means that they've sort of got decent grip. So at least that's a good start. If they're light, it's probably lightweight. If they're mid, it means they probably haven't got enough ankle support. So, have a little look at that, because when you're thinking about, as Dave mentioned earlier, having high ankle support, like me and Dave, we shout about it, because you don't want to be rolling an ankle and your trips over. I'd rather, I know trainers are comfy, but if you can, have a boot. It'll protect you. You don't have to think about it. You've got backup, peace of mind. So I'd, maybe have a look at that, Andy. So I wouldn't like to say, yep, go for it. I'll read into them a little bit. And I can always get back to you, Andy, if that's okay. But just on those three things that I kind of mentioned that's in the name, gives me an idea that maybe they're a bit lightweight for it. But again, I've seen people on the trek, haven't we? And they've got trainers, and they trek to base camp, and they trek back. It's down to you, I think.
Shona's pretty informed. She says they just call them trainers, but they're actually boots. So I think they need to have a word with their marketing team about that. Another news. Stephen Edwards has docked me one IQ point, so now I'm down to 4 because I've not seen Marvel. And Marky V has also said Stephen Merchant, perhaps, with the glasses.
Yeah, so, I can see that.
Ramona's still struggling with Section 7 of reports. Ramona, I think it's time you sack that report off. It's going to be so full of like this regulation, build-in regulation boots, this build-in regulation, such and such, sleeping bag, down jacket. There's going to be peppered with little trekking references.
Brilliant.
Martin McCollum, has anyone tried trekking poles with the camera attachment on top to turn it into a monopod?
Yeah.
I've not seen it, but I'm sure it's possible to do. Andy, I think I'm going to throw that over to you. You're cameraman.
Cheers, mate. No, with the attachments and things. I have seen it, actually. I've seen a few people with that attachment on there. It could be a bit clunky. So, although it's on top of the actual trekking pole, you imagine you're using that. Even with the GoPro 8 or the GoPro 9, if it's got that kind of attachment on it, it can be a bit clunky. That being said, if you're using it just to, hold a pole, as like you said, like a monopod, and just somewhere to lean, I don't see an issue in that. If it was me, all you're looking for when you're taking say a landscape, is a landscape photo. Sorry, Dave, I wonder where you went then. Sorry, that lights are back on. Is that if you're looking for some stability, so rather than resting on a rock or, someone's shoulder, having your own stability, I don't see any problem with that. Just that trekking poles are down there, so you have to sort of get down. If it's extendable, happy days. So I hope that kind of answers. I'd give it a go. I think it sounds really good.
Yeah. I personally wouldn't give it a go because I only use my phone as a camera. And last time I went to BBC, I took about 8 pictures. But I never need to take pictures because I usually go with Andy, and Andy takes 1,000 pictures, and then I usually say, "Send me that hand, and then take credit for his work." Shona has actually said, "Is anyone else thinking an EverTrek night out in the pub would be a great idea?" I think there's two things to that. One, I think she's only saying that because she knows I owe her 2 points, at least for getting her name wrong for a whole year. Karen has also chimed in because I think I owe her 2 points.
And Lee,
Lee, if you're here, dive in as well. But I am 100%. Let's take the show on the road, and let's do a road show. Tuesday, tune in live.
You know what? I think it is what it is. The last 12 months, isn't it? It's been a bit nuts. We did have some sort of things in mind that would have made that happen a lot quicker. As soon as we can, though, we'll be launching something I kind of don't want to talk about, but it's kind of like our own a little festival, if you like, that we will be doing in the future. It's just a matter of time, and logistically, we're trying to work that out. But I certainly want to do it, and that'll be like an annual thing that we do where EverTrekkers can sort of catch up, and we can have a bit of social, because if we're not on the trips, then we can do it in the UK. So absolutely, give us a pint of Guinness. We'll make sure there's Guinness there, and happy days. But obviously we have to do with the virtual stuff for now. But so we hope this is sort of passing the time a little bit.
I think EverTrek Roadshow would be good. I even think, do you remember? I think it was mainly done in the 80s and early 90s, where like radio shows would take their radio on the road, so we can like pack a load of stuff in the van and actually do a live show on the road. But apparently I talked up Karen's name last week. Honestly, just take it as read that the Tuesday tune in at 12:30 is 12:31 to 33 normally, and given the opportunity to get someone's name wrong, I will always get it wrong.
There we go. So you get plenty of free beer off Dave.
Yeah,
which is great from the beer fines. But right, well, couple more questions. Lewis Black. She slept in. What time is it for you? Is the jacket you ordered an EverTrek down jacket? Awesome. Cheers, Lewis. Is it good for EBC? Yes. The Everest, the jackets that we got made in Nepal are good enough for Everest Base Camp. They're great jackets. We made sure they were good enough because they're the ones that are very similar to the ones we use that our customers hire. So if there's people on here who have hired jackets from us in Nepal, they'll know that they're that kind of similar sort of not quality, because these are a little bit nicer, in terms of the seams and things like that. But in terms of the keeping you warm, they're on a similar sort of level.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing that, Lewis.
Awesome. And I was just about to comment on something then that I saw, but it's literally left my mind, and so I'm going to hand it back over to you while I try and
I got a couple. I think one thing I will say, was it Diana? Go back to you again. I know you put a comment around the Facebook group, and awesome to see. Super useful. And anyone who has any questions, as you'll see here, I know we're answering the questions, but you'll see a lot of your questions are answered in the comments by some of our EverTrekkers and people who have been on our trips, people who are into high altitude trekking themselves. So they've seen it as well. And if you do have a question, do drop it in that group as well anytime, because you'll get a response really quickly from several people. For instance, Diane wanted to know about navigation, as she put on there. And I've seen loads of EverTrekkers say, "Oh, do this, go here, do that." About compass and map reading. And we wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit today, but it's kind of maybe one we'll do in the future, because although we like me and Dave, we know what we're doing when it comes to navigation. In terms of teaching you guys, I'd rather get a specialist in to do that. And there are navigation courses around, I think, there, which is very handy. If you're doing your practice treks and you're in a remote area, having your map and compass is priceless. We always do when we're out. It's our bread and butter, and obviously with the technology, because technology's come on now, you can use that, and these as well. But there's nothing quite like the old school map and compass, and it's fun as well. It's like, oh yeah, you can see. The old school navigation is great.
It is awesome.
Before I sort of move on, just to say that maybe in the future we'll look at potentially doing some sort of courses around that through the guys who do run our winter skills, which is Steve or Aim Higher, because he's the one who taught us. We'd rather you guys go to the specialists where you can learn all the skills, because there's so much when it comes to navigation. It's not just map and compass, using all your surroundings, where you've come from, where you're going, remembering stuff consciously, because it's like when you walk in, sometimes you walk in and you don't remember where you've been, but part of the navigation that we were taught, you kind of remember where you've been, and almost it's like a movie. Almost watch it, and then you can then find out where you are. It's kind of a bit easier from a navigational point of view. Just something that Steve said. If we do any of that, we'll definitely push it out to you guys. But obviously, at the moment, no trips are happening, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just to second what Andy said, I think in order to do map reading justice, I think you have to do it in the field by someone that really knows what they're doing. The way me and Andy learned was we went up to Snowdonia, and we had it perfect because there was a really misty day and we were right in there. And he literally, they teach you so many different techniques and methods for finding your way and stuff like that. So really good. A good question here from Joel Palmer. He said, "What happened to the two-wheel trip?" All I can say, Nate, is stay tuned, because the two-wheel trip is going to be huge. There's something really, it's not just the trip. We've got something really, really special, and it's this close. I think we're almost close to kind of launching what it is, and when it does, I think you'll be blown away. Anyone that likes riding a bike and spending time in the mountains, this is going to be an epic new whole other world. So awesome. Yeah, nice. Joel has actually asked as well around going to Nepal, any medicines that are not allowed. You take ibuprofen and steroid spray for your polyps. I know your pain, mate. I'm waiting to have mine removed. Good old polyps, right? You can use them. It's fine. I've taken ibuprofen, paracetamol,
a lot of medicines. They're pretty good when going over there. Obviously, don't take hundreds. They might sort of question it, but if you need it, take it. When it comes to any medication, I take my asthma medication. I know people that have had other conditions, heart conditions, other medication they have to take. I mean, yeah, take it. Don't leave that stuff at home, because it'll, especially with polyps. I know what it's like. Yeah, keep those quiet. But right, yeah. Well, we come towards the end now, because I know we're over an hour already. But Dave, any kind of final words before we finish, mate?
No, that's it. No immediate plans to go home and watch the Marvel movies, but I think yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, it's been a really good one. I think anytime we talk about kit, I know it's going to be like a long live and I think it's absolutely great. One thing I'm getting the fizz in my stomach about this kind of like meeting up with everyone and maybe taking over a campsite somewhere and having a bit of a party over a weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to forget that. So as soon as COVID kind of allows us to, I think we need to arrange this and kind of meet up somewhere. Up in St. David's, and where we went before this lockdown happened, which was one of the best weekends ever. I absolutely loved it up there. It was great.
I love it. Good to have that time away, isn't it? And I know we're all craving that right now. Any adventure, and as we've said the last few weeks, we are coming. You can see the light. We're coming towards the end of all this, or at least the end part of it. Fingers crossed. But yeah, just a couple of questions before we go, because I don't want to kind of leave them unanswered. Stephen Edwards, 2-day mountain course, Plaza Brennan, is that okay? Yeah, great area. Plaza Brennan, I know sort of roughly where it is, but it's in a really good area there, and I've sort of looked at their website and what they do. They look like a really good team up there. I say there's a lot of companies that do kind of mountain skills and things like that. But yeah, Plaza Brennan is one of the best in North Wales. But yeah, guys, we'll love you, leave you. Have fun. Have an awesome week. Keep positive. Keep motivated. If you're running, don't get up at 6:30 because it hurts. No, I'm only joking. And we'll be in touch soon, and we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Awesome. Take care.
Bye. Lovely jubbly.